Growing up in the United States, we're told all the time that the United States is the most powerful country in the world. We're told it so much that nobody really questions it. We just kind of go through living our lives and believing that that is the case. But I really believe that more people should look at that question and look at why it is or it isn't. So we're going to watch a video here today that looks at a possible alternative. Europe is way more powerful than you think. And this is by Stephen Woodford. There will be a link in the description so you can head on over, support his channel. I'm sure he would appreciate that. I think this is going to be a super interesting video. There's a lot going on right now in the world, and the United States has kind of lost trust, stability, and a lot of things that kind of makes the world go. So this is going to be interesting to see what he has to say here. Before we get going, go ahead and like the video. That really does help a lot. Let's see what we can see.
So there's a narrative going around MAGA circles right now. You've probably seen it. They look at military spending. The US spends $997 billion on defense, while Europe spends $454 billion. And they...
I know it's only been on like 3 seconds, but that's a lot of money. $997 billion on defense. And it probably gives a lot of people in the United States some comfort knowing that no country has a larger military than they do. So they have some military strength, but they don't have health care. I mean, a lot of that money could be spent on things like health care, lowering food costs, lowering food price, lowering the cost of prescriptions, things like that. But yeah, I don't know.
They conclude that Europe is helpless, that Europe needs America, that Trump can do whatever he wants, and that they, us, will just have to take it. This is the logic of someone who has never thought about why America is powerful in the first place. Yes, the United...
Wait, so he's saying Europe believes that? I think that's what he's saying. Hold on.
That Europe needs America, and they conclude dollars on defense, while Europe spends $454 billion. And they conclude that Europe is helpless.
He's talking about the MAGA supporters. They conclude that Europe is helpless.
Europe needs America, that Trump can do whatever he wants, and that they, us, will just have to take it.
Yeah, I mean, because that's kind of how it is in the United States. So that's what they're used to. And, it's kind of been, in my opinion, it's been proven to be true. He kind of does whatever the hell he wants. So it'll be interesting one day when somebody stands up to him.
Is the logic of someone who has never thought about why America is powerful in the first place. Yes, the United States has the most powerful military on the planet. Nobody disputes that. But here's the question MAGA never asks. Where does that military come from? How does the United States afford 11 aircraft carrier strike groups and 750 military bases around the world? The answer is the economy. The US military is downstream of American economic dominance. The dollar's status as the world's reserve currency lets America borrow at rates that no other country can match. The centrality of American finance means capital flows into US Treasury bonds from every corner of the globe. That's what funds the Pentagon.
That's what funds the Pentagon, and that's a lot of power. It's like everything, it kind of infiltrates everything. So that's interesting.
That is what makes the aircraft carriers possible. And here's what the tank counters don't understand. That economic dominance isn't a natural fact. It isn't geography. It's not destiny. It's a system America built after World War II and has spent 80 years maintaining. A system based on one thing above all else: trust. And here is the thing that MAGA hasn't thought about. Europe has real leverage over that trust. We hold $8 trillion in US bonds and equities.
Yeah. So they have real leverage even over the US. But man, that's a tough thing to decide to do, is to mess with that 8 trillion of US bonds. But it's true.
They've got a trade bazooka that can shut American companies out of 450 million consumers overnight. We'll get to all of that, trust me.
Oh, okay,
but
good.
First, We need to truly appreciate why American power is so uniquely fragile, and why Russia can survive isolation and America can't. The world uses dollars because they...
I've often wondered that because in the U.S. it seems like they've done sanctions on Russia, and then more sanctions, and then more sanctions, and you would think that they just wouldn't have, enough money to survive. So that probably means that they're getting it from somewhere else. Probably China. That would be my guess. Yeah, I bet that's what it is.
They trust America. They buy treasury bonds because they trust America. They route their transactions through American banks because they trust that the United States will be a reliable, predictable, rule-following anchor of the global system. And here's the cruel irony. The very thing that makes America powerful is the thing that makes it vulnerable. Russia can survive being cut off from the West. They've been preparing for it for a decade. After Crimea, they started building alternative payment systems. They slashed their dollar reserves. They pivoted to...
China and Russia have sought to reduce their use of the US dollar or de-dollarize their economies.
They started building alternative payment systems. They slashed their dollar reserves. They pivoted to China. When the sanctions hit in 2022, it hurt a lot. But their economy was already structured to absorb the blow. Same with China. They've got SIPs, their alternative to SWIFT. They've got 1 billion domestic customers. They're not fully integrated into the Western financial system, which means they're not fully exposed to it. America is the opposite. America didn't build walls against the global economy. America is the global economy. The US isn't strong despite being interconnected with the world. It's strong because of it. Every thread of global finance runs through New York. Every major transaction touches the dollar. That's not a side effect of American power. That's the source of it. Which means that when America acts like a rogue state, when it threatens to tear up treaties, invade allies, seize territories because the president had a tantrum about...
because he had a tantrum, like wanting to take over Canada or Greenland or Mexico or all of these other places. I mean, I can see that. Like the world, a lot of things happen because they believe that the United States is going to be like the big brother in the room, like the stable entity. So whenever you do all these things, it probably messes up everything else, because who would trust? I don't know. Like I wouldn't. If I got used to trusting that you were going to do something, I don't know, subscribe to the channel or something. Just kidding. That was the wrong place, wrong time. but if you got used to trusting somebody and you counted on that to happen every time, and then when it doesn't, I mean, you could be lost depending on how much trust you put in them. So
a medal, it doesn't just damage its reputation, it shakes the foundations of the very system that makes it powerful. As a Cambridge University paper put it, trust is cumulative and relational, but it can also dissipate when the hegemon is seen as unpredictable or self-serving. Russia gets...
And it is predictable. It's unpredictable. What? No. If it dissipates, you can lose it quick, and it will take a long time to build it back. So it takes a long time to build it up. You can lose it fast, and then it takes a long time to build it again. So it's not just, once there becomes a more stable government in the United States, then, the next day it'll be back to normal. We trust you again. No, it takes time to build it up, even long after the current administration is gone.
Powerful. As a Cambridge University paper put it, trust is cumulative and relational, but it can also dissipate when the hegemon is seen as unpredictable or self-serving. Russia gets sanctioned and pivots to China. Their bilateral trade hit $240 billion, with China now supplying 38% of Russian imports. America gets isolated.
38% of Russian imports? Holy crap. Wow, I didn't realize, I didn't even think of that. Because you do have to wonder, like, where does Russia get all this stuff? 38% of their imports comes from China.
And what pivots to whom? The world is already... America gets...
Did you hear that? Let's hear that again.
Billion, with China now supplying 38% of Russian imports. America gets isolated, and what? Pivots to whom? The world is already oriented around America. There's nowhere to pivot to. The network doesn't have a backup hub. So let's talk about what's actually happening.
Damn. I never thought of it that way. If Russia gets isolated, as they have, they pivot to China. It's like the United States is somebody that one of these countries might pivot to because of their size, but they have nowhere to go. It's like they're already at the top. So it's like Russia is here, and if they need to pivot, they have somewhere to go. They can go up here. But the United States is here. There's nowhere else to go. So if they get isolated by, Europe, who holds, what was it, $8 trillion in bonds or something, if they get isolated because they decide to go nuclear with those bonds, then the U.S. is screwed. Oh, damn.
Trump lands troops in Greenland, and yes, I know that he almost certainly won't.
Oh, Greenland, there we go.
Trump, after all. But if he did, first, NATO dies instantly. The Danish Prime Minister said it explicitly. If the United States chooses to attack another NATO country militarily, then everything stops, including our NATO. Republican Congressman Michael McCall, Chairman Emeritus of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, said an invasion would turn Article 5 on its very head, and, in essence, press a war with NATO itself. He said it would abolish NATO as we know it, and he's right.
And there's so many ignorant people out there who say, good, let it get abolished, because that's what needs to happen. America first. We can do it all by ourselves. We can grow every type of food, everything. A food that can only be grown in Brazil, we'll figure out how to do it in the United States. Because we're America.
75 years of collective security. Gone. The alliance that won the Cold War, that kept the peace in Europe, that gave America forward deployed bases across an entire continent, finished because of Greenland. And who benefits? Like, really, who benefits? Russia. The Kremlin is already celebrating.
That's right. Russia would benefit because all of a sudden they have fractions everywhere. Fractures. Damn it. Fractures everywhere.
Benefits. Like, really, who benefits? Russia. The Kremlin is already celebrating. Putin's spokesman said Trump would go down in history if he pulled this off. One of Putin's top aides said it proves the Transatlantic alliance is over. This is the gift of Vladimir Putin that he could only have dreamt of. But let's talk economics, because this is where the Europe can't hurt us crowd reveals that they haven't thought about this for 5 minutes. The EU and the US have the most integrated economic relationship in the world. Together, they represent 43% of global GDP and nearly 30% of global trade. In 2024, transatlantic trade hit 1.68 trillion euros. That is not a minor trading partner. That's the foundation of American prosperity. European companies directly employ 5 million Americans. 5 million jobs, more than the entire population of Ireland.
Wow. I don't think I knew that. I didn't realize that. But I mean, I can see it, and that number is probably going up because you got a lot of people leaving the United States. So, wow, that's interesting. Hold on, I'm going to go back a little bit.
5 million jobs, more than the entire population of Ireland. European investment in the United States stands at $3.2 trillion. 56% of all foreign investment in America. More than half of every foreign dollar invested in the United States comes from Europe. And it flows the other way too. Of course it does. Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, they pull somewhere between 160 billion and 300 billion in revenue from European customers every year. The Magnificent Seven tech companies earn between 51% and 63% of their revenue from foreign markets, with
Wow.
Europe as a major share. The European single market is 450 million people with money to spend.
So, I mean, you can kind of see where he's going, that Europe has a lot of leverage. But man, damn, it's crazy because it's like, what do? Do you decide to use that leverage and basically in your relationship with the United States? How does that hurt you? I wonder if he's going to talk about that. Like if they did that, he can talk about the pros and cons of it, because I wonder how it would impact them if they went nuclear. I like saying that because basically that's what it would be. You would be going nuclear if they decided to use that leverage.
That's not a market you walk away from. So what does Europe do when if America invades a NATO ally?
Yeah.
We have options. Real options. The EU has something called the Anti-Coercion Instrument. It's never been used. They call it the Trade Bazooka. It allows the EU to shut...
Hold on, he didn't read that. Hold on. Adopted in 2023, the tool was designed with the U.S. and China in mind, as the world's two biggest economies become more assertive in pushing their national interests through tariffs and the weaponization of natural resources. Okay.
Instrument. It's never been used. They call it the Trade Bazooka. It allows the EU to shut American companies out of the European single market entirely, restricting trade licenses, blocking access to public procurement, limits on foreign direct investment, sanctions on specific companies and individuals. France is already pushing for it. Macron called Trump's tariffs unacceptable and demanded a united and coordinated response. And if Europe doesn't go nuclear, they've got a 90...
Oh, he called it that too. Maybe I've heard that somewhere, because I just thought that sounded right. But oh wow, dang, this is a good video.
A united and coordinated response. And if Europe doesn't go nuclear, they've got a 93 billion euro retaliatory tariff package sitting on the shelf from last year, specifically designed to hit Republican states. Bourbon, soybeans, aircraft parts that hurt Boeing. Then there's the pharmaceutical angle.
Oh, damn. That's pretty clever to hit the Republican states. Wow.
Soybeans, aircraft parts that hurt Boeing. Then there's the pharmaceutical angle. The US is the world's largest pharmaceutical importer. Since 2023, pharmaceuticals were the top American import from the EU, $170 billion worth. Europe supplies 25% of all active pharmaceutical ingredients used in American drug manufacturing.
25%.
90% of US biotech companies rely on imported components. You want to talk about national security?
Wow. 90% of U.S. biotech companies rely on important components for at least half of their U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved products. At least half. 90% of the companies. Dang. Okay, that's more leverage.
Biotech companies rely on imported components. You want to talk about national security? Try explaining to American cancer patients why their chemotherapy drugs aren't arriving because the president wanted to steal an island the size of Mexico for its minerals. Then there's the financial dimension, the one that could really break things. European countries hold $8 trillion in US bonds and equities, almost twice as much as the rest of the world combined. Deutsche Bank's head of FX research has been explicit. Europe has significant leverage over America in global financial markets. The dollar's status as the world's reserve currency, that exorbitant privilege that lets America borrow cheaply and run massive deficits, depends on trust. Trust that American institutions are stable. Trust that the rule of law means something. Trust that the United States won't seize an allied territory because the president didn't get an award. When that trust erodes, the dollar erodes. A Federal Reserve...
Isn't that crazy? I don't know. I gotta hear that again just because it's crazy.
That the United States won't seize an allied territory because the president didn't get an award. When...
Because, okay, let's just keep going.
When that trust erodes, the dollar erodes.
Right.
A Federal Reserve paper confirms the link. The loss of the US dollar's reserve currency status may thus presage a large decline in the global power of the US.
Wow.
And this economic advantage allows the US to finance a large and powerful military more easily. The dollar already dropped against the euro when Trump announced these tariffs.
Yeah, and it sucks right now. I mean, it's like costing us a lot of money because obviously everything that we get has to be converted. So, and it's just horrible right now. I probably get like 86 cents on a dollar or something like that.
Which of course he's went back on now already, against the euro when Trump announced these tariffs. Which of course he's went back on now already, because it's Taco Trump. Meanwhile, gold hit a record high. The markets are watching, and they're starting to price in the possibility that the United States might be run by someone who doesn't understand that the system isn't separate from American power. It is American power. Peter Schiff, the economist, put it bluntly. The dollar's reserve currency status allows us to live beyond our means. Soaring debt, tariffs, and military threats jeopardize that status. When it's lost, economic collapse will follow.
That's crazy. So he's essentially saying that the United States has all their power because of credit. That's basically what he said. The dollar's reserve currency status allows us to live beyond our means. So, soaring debt, tariffs, military threats jeopardize that status.
So, yes, the United States could possibly take Greenland militarily. Of course they could. Denmark has about 150 permanent personnel there, and a few hundred European troops doing exercises. It's not a fair fight. But this isn't about the fight. It's about what comes after. NATO collapses. The EU activates economic retaliation. European investment starts flowing out of America. American companies lose access to 450 million consumers. The dollar wobbles. Borrowing costs rise. The country that spent 75 years building an international order that made it the most powerful nation on earth becomes a pariah. The system that funds the tanks and the carriers and the bases starts to crack. Russia can survive outside the Western system. They've spent a decade building the infrastructure for it. America cannot.
It cannot. But I wonder if it did collapse. I mean, this is like in the future. But if it did collapse, then, then maybe the United States will have to go to China like Russia did. I don't know. Then that would make China like the superpower of the world. But
America is the Western system. And you can't burn down your own house to spite your own neighbors. The MAGA crowd looks at military spending and thinks, that's power. But military spending is an output. The input is economic centrality, global trust, and the willingness of the world to keep buying American debt and routing their money through American banks. Trump is threatening to torture all of that. He has already done irreparable damage. For an island, the US already has military access to. All because he didn't get a medal. Because no one in power has any fucking balls. This isn't strength. This is...
Amen. Good job. Say that again. But he's right. That's what it is. I know that's what it is in the United States. I mean, he got to where he is because no one no, it's not completely true. He got to where he is because he's a representative of millions of people who think the way that he thinks. And, if you try to stand up against him, which a lot of people did, then they get voted out. So, it's the people. But anyway, he's right. People in power don't have any balls.
Military access to. All because he didn't get a medal. Because no one in power has any fucking balls. This isn't strength. This is the geopolitical equivalent of a billionaire burning his company to the ground because someone didn't clap hard enough at his speech. There are, however, two winners if Trump keeps going the way that he's...
Oh, dang. Who are the two winners? Europe? I don't know. Let's see.
going. Do you know who they are? Russia
And
and China.
Damn it. I should have thought about that. Russia and China. Yeah, he's right.
So there's a narrative going around.
Ooh, that was a good ending. Russia and China. Wow. Man, that was really good. I don't know what I thought it was going to be, but I think that's really good. But there's so many questions that come after that. Like, what are they risking if they go nuclear? Oh, man. That's just so crazy. This is what one person could do to screw up everything. One person. All right. That was a really good video. Hopefully you liked that video. If you did and you want to see more just like that and support the channel, then subscribe to the channel, man. It's really easy and it's free. My name is Greg. I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.